My husband looked at me like I'd just shot his dog. All I did was sign the paper he handed me. He thought he was playing 4D chess to test my loyalty, but he forgot one crucial detail about the woman he married. I don't bluff. He wanted a reaction. I gave him a signature, and that ink was barely dry before his entire world started to crumble. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. It was a Tuesday. I remember that because we always had tacos on Tuesday. But that night, Justin had insisted on pasta. He'd been weird all evening, fidgety, vibrating with this nervous energy that made him look like he was suppressing a sneeze for 3 hours straight. I was halfway through twirling a forkful of spaghetti when he did it. He didn't say a word. He just reached under his chair, pulled out a thick manila envelope, and slid it across the table. It hit my water glass with a dull thud. "What is this?" I asked. My voice was casual, but my stomach did that little flip it does when you miss a step on the stairs. "Just look at it," he said. He wouldn't meet my eyes. He was staring at the centerpiece, a sad little succulent I'd bought at Home Depot, like it was the most fascinating thing on earth. I wiped my hands on a napkin, deliberately slow. I opened the clasp. I pulled out the stack of papers. The header was in bold, capitalized font. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The room went dead silent. You know that silence where you can hear the refrigerator humming and the blood rushing in your own ears? That. I scanned the document. It was real. It was thorough. Asset division, property rights, no kids to worry about. It was a complete divorce filing. "You're serious?" I asked. I looked at him. Justin finally looked up. His face was a mask of tragic, rehearsed stoicism. I think it's what's best. For both of us. I need to prioritize my growth. I can't do that here anymore. I feel undervalued. Undervalued. The word hung in the air like a bad smell. It sounded metallic coming out of his mouth, like he was reading it off a teleprompter inside his brain. Undervalued, I repeated. Okay, give me an example. One example in the last year where I undervalued you. He blinked. He clearly hadn't prepared for a follow-up question. It's not about specifics, Elena. It's the vibe. You don't fight for us. You don't show me you care. If you really loved me, you'd be reacting differently right now. And that's when it clicked. The nervous energy, the rehearsed lines, the waiting. He was watching me like a hawk, waiting for the explosion. He wanted me to scream. He wanted me to throw the pasta against the wall. He wanted me to drop to my knees and beg him not to leave me. He wanted a scene from a bad soap opera to prove his importance. He was testing me. A cold, hard clarity washed over me. It started at the base of my neck and spread down to my fingertips. If he was willing to weaponize the legal system to soothe his ego, the marriage wasn't just in trouble, it was dead. It was a corpse, and he was poking it with a stick. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I reached over to the side table where we kept the mail, picked up a blue ballpoint pen, and clicked it. Click. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet room. "Elena?" Justin's voice wavered. "What are you doing?" "Exactly what you asked me to do," I said calmly. I turned to the signature page. I signed my name. Elena Vance, loop, curve, slash. Then I dated it. Then I initialed the 3 spots that needed initialing. I capped the pen and slid the papers back across the table. "Your attorney can file these whenever he's ready," I said. Justin stared at the papers. Then he looked at me. Then back at the papers. His face went from that stoic mask to pure, unadulterated panic. The color drained out of him so fast he looked like bleached linen. "Wait," he whispered. "Wait, Elena, hold on." "Hold on for what?" I stood up and picked up my plate. "You want a divorce. You did the paperwork. I signed it. We're done. I'll clear out my things." I thought we'd talk about this," he sputtered, standing up, knocking his knee against the table. The water glass wobbled. You just signed it? Without hesitation. You handed me divorce papers during dinner, Justin, I said, my voice terrifyingly level. What exactly did you think would happen? He opened his mouth, closed it, and opened it again, like a fish out of water. You're supposed to fight for us, he finally choked out. I don't fight for people who try to manipulate me, I said, and I walked into the kitchen to rinse my dish. The walk from the dining room to the bedroom felt like crossing a bridge between two different lives. Behind me, I could hear Justin hyperventilating. Actually, hyperventilating, short, panic-stricken gasps. I went into the bedroom and pulled my weekender bag out of the closet. I didn't throw things. I folded them. Jeans, 3 shirts, underwear, socks, my charger, my laptop, the essentials. Justin appeared in the doorway. He looked small. He was leaning against the frame like his bones had turned to jelly. Elena, stop, please, stop packing, he said. His voice was high, pitchy. I didn't mean it. It was a test, okay? It was just a test. I didn't look up from my folding. A test? You hired a lawyer, paid a retainer, drafted legal documents, and threatened to dissolve our 7-year marriage as a test? I needed to know, he pleaded. He stepped into the room, reaching for my arm but stopping short when I shot him a look that could have frozen hell over. Derek said. Damien said that if you really loved me, you wouldn't sign. He said you'd fight. He said it would bring the passion back. Damien, I said. The name tasted like ash. Of course. So you're taking marriage advice from a man who's been divorced twice? He understands male dynamics, Justin yelled, suddenly defensive, parroting a phrase I knew he didn't understand. He knows that men are undervalued. Well, I zipped the bag shut. The zipper sound was loud and final. Now you're not undervalued, now you're single. You can go be valued by Damien. I slung the bag over my shoulder. Justin blocked my path. You can't leave. This is our house. And those were divorce papers, I reminded him. I'm going to stay at Cassie's. Do not follow me. Do not call me unless it's about the logistics of the sale of the apartment. The sale? Elena, no. He looked like he was about to cry. I don't want a divorce. I love you. You have a funny way of showing it, I said. I maneuvered around him. He was too stunned to physically stop me. He just stood there, paralyzed by the consequences of his own actions. I walked through the living room, past the pasta that was getting cold on the table, past the signed papers that were sitting there like a landmine he'd stepped on, and out the front door. I got into my car. My hands were shaking so hard I had to grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white just to aim the key at the ignition. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just drove. The city lights blurred past me, streaks of neon in the darkness. I dialed Cassie. Hey! She picked up on the first ring. He did it, I said. He handed me the papers. Oh my God, Cassie breathed. Are you okay? Where are you? I signed them, I said. I'm coming over. I'll put the kettle on, she said. No questions. Just immediate sanctuary. Driving to Cassie's, my brain wouldn't shut up. It kept rewinding, trying to find the moment the man I married turned into the stranger I just left. It took me back 8 years. We didn't meet at a gallery or a coffee shop. We met in a mud pit. It was the Downpour Festival, a 3-day music fest that turned into a natural disaster when a tropical storm hit. I was standing under a flimsy tarp soaked to the bone, trying to save my grilled cheese sandwich from dissolving. Justin slid under the tarp next to me. He was covered in mud. It was in his hair, on his face, caked on his boots. He looked like a swamp creature. I think, he said, wiping rain out of his eyes, that nature is trying to tell us that rock and roll is dead. I laughed. I couldn't help it. I think nature is telling us we're idiots for paying $300 to stand in a hurricane. I'm Justin, he said, extending a muddy hand. Elena, I shook it. We spent the next 12 hours surviving. That's the only word for it. We shared that grilled cheese. We huddled together for warmth. When the wind blew my tent away, literally blew it into a tree, he invited me into his, which was basically a glorified plastic bag. We spent the night talking about everything, our fears, our weirdest childhood memories, our theories on why pigeons bob their heads. There was no posturing, no games. He was funny, self-deprecating, and kind. When I shivered, he gave me his only dry hoodie. When we finally got to his car the next morning, tired and smelling like wet dogs, he asked for my number like he was terrified I'd say no. "I promise our first date will be indoors," he said. "Climate controlled. Dry." That was the Justin I married. The guy who could laugh when everything went wrong. The guy who was my partner, my teammate. We built a life together. We moved into the loft. We tried, and failed, to cook fancy brunches on Sundays. We talked about kids. We were solid. Or I thought we were. I merged onto the highway, blinking back tears. That guy from the festival? He was gone. He'd been replaced by a pod person who used words like undervalued and thought hurting me was a valid strategy. The rot started 6 months ago. I can pinpoint the exact day. Justin's old college buddy, Mason, was throwing a barbecue, a reunion. Justin hadn't seen these guys in a decade, but he was buzzing with excitement. He wanted to show off. He wanted to show them he'd made it. We showed up with a cooler of craft beer and a potato salad I'd spent way too much time making. The backyard was packed, and holding court by the grill was Damien. You know the type instantly. Expensive sunglasses he didn't take off even though it was cloudy. A polo shirt that was one size too small to show off his biceps. He was talking louder than anyone else, holding a beer like a scepter. "Justin!" Damien roared when he saw us. "The prodigal son returns!" He engulfed Justin in a hug that looked more like a wrestling hold. Then he turned to me. He looked me up and down. Not in a sexual way, but like he was appraising a used car. "And this is the ball and chain?" Damien asked, grinning. The air went still. It was such a dated, hackneyed insult. I expected Justin to roll his eyes to make a joke, to defend me. Instead, Justin laughed. "Yeah, this is Elena. She keeps me in line." "Someone has to," Damien said, clapping Justin on the back hard enough to stagger him. "Marriage, man. The ultimate surrender. I keep telling these guys, you gotta keep the leash loose or you'll strangle yourself." I felt my hackles rise. "I didn't realize we were using 1950s metaphors today," I said, keeping my voice light but sharp. "I thought partnership was the goal." Damien turned his sunglasses toward me. "Partnership. Cute. That's what my second ex-wife said right before she took the house." The guys around him chuckled nervously. One of them, a quiet guy named Caleb, looked at his shoes. But Justin was looking at Damien with wide, admiring eyes. Like Damien was dispensing wisdom from the mountaintop instead of bitter, recycled misogyny. "She's got a mouth on her, huh?" Damien said to Justin, ignoring me completely. "You sure you can handle that?" "I can handle it," Justin said, puffing out his chest. "She's just protective." I walked away then. I went to get a drink, but I watched them from across the yard. Justin stayed glued to Damien's side all night. He mimicked Damien's posture. He laughed at jokes that weren't funny. He was absorbing the toxicity like a sponge. That night, on the drive home, Justin was quiet. He tapped his fingers on the steering wheel. "Damien's doing really well," he said. "He's got his own firm now. He's really got life figured out." "He seems unhappy," I said honestly, "and bitter." "You just don't get his humor," Justin snapped. It was the first time he'd ever snapped at me like that. He's an alpha. He commands the room. I could learn a lot from him. I should have stopped the car right then and there. I should have screamed, but I didn't. I let it slide. It wasn't instant. It was a slow drip. It started with the podcasts. Justin had a 40-minute commute, and suddenly, instead of audiobooks or music, it was these manosphere shows. I'd borrow his car and the Bluetooth would auto-connect, blasting angry men ranting about hypergamy and biological imperatives. "Why are you listening to this garbage?" I asked him one night while we were doing dishes. "It's not garbage," he said, scrubbing a plate with unnecessary aggression. "It's evolutionary psychology. It explains why society is failing men." "Society is failing men?" I laughed. "Justin, you're a white upper-middle-class architect. Who is failing you?" "See?" He turned to me, eyes blazing. "That's the problem. You dismiss my struggles. You don't respect my frame." "Your frame? What does that even mean?" "It means my reality," he shouted. "I need to set the tone of this household. Damien says that if the man doesn't lead, the woman loses respect for him. And I can feel it, Elena. You don't respect me." "I respect you when you're being you," I said, putting down a towel. "I don't respect you when you're quoting Damien." "I'm not quoting him. These are my thoughts." But they weren't. I heard him on the phone with Damien late at night. I heard the muffled coaching. "Yeah, I told her," Justin would say. "Yeah, I held my ground. No, she didn't apologize yet." He started picking fights over nothing. If I asked him to take out the trash, it was nagging. If I worked late on a zoning proposal, it was me prioritizing my career over my husband. One Wednesday, we had planned to watch a movie. I ordered Thai food. I was excited. Justin came home, walked past me, and sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "Hey," I said, "food's here." "Ready to start?" "I'm not in the mood," he mumbled, "but we planned this. I've been waiting all week." He looked up, his eyes cold. "I'm not obligated to entertain you, Elena." The phrase slapped me in the face. It was so unnatural, so scripted. "Who said you were?" I asked. "I'm asking for your company, not a circus act." "You expect me to be available on your timeline. It's controlling." He stood up and walked into the bedroom, leaving me alone with $50 worth of pad Thai. I heard the lock click. He was pulling away, brick by brick, and building a wall out of Damien's insecurities. 3 weeks before the papers, we went out to dinner. A new Italian place downtown. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I got him away from his phone and his friends, we could reconnect. I was wrong. It was a setup. Our waitress was young, maybe 22. Blonde, bubbly, very pretty. When she came to take our order, Justin lit up. He sat up straighter. He flashed a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. "Well, hello there," he said, his voice dropping an octave. "What's your name?" "I'm Sarah," she smiled professionally. "Sarah. Beautiful name," Justin said, holding eye contact just a little too long. "I bet you get that a lot. What do you recommend, Sarah? I trust your taste. You look like someone with good taste." It was clumsy. It was obvious. He was flirting with her right in front of me. I felt a spike of embarrassment. Not for me, but for him. He looked desperate. I just picked up my menu. "I'll have the risotto," I said when she looked at me. "And for you, sir?" "I'll have whatever you think is best," Justin winked. "Surprise me." When she walked away, Justin turned to me, grinning expectantly. He was waiting. He was literally bouncing his leg, waiting for me to snap. "She's cute, right?" he prodded. "She's doing her job, Justin," I said, taking a sip of water. "She's working for tips." "You didn't notice how she smiled at me?" "She smiled at everyone. It's the service industry." His smile faltered. "You're not jealous?" "Why would I be jealous of a college student trying to pay her rent?" I asked. "It's not a competition." "You don't care," he accused, his voice rising. People at the next table glanced over. A wife who actually loved her husband would be possessive. "You're just indifferent." "I'm secure," I corrected him. "There's a difference." He scowled and spent the rest of the meal texting under the table. When the bill came, I saw him hesitate on the tip line. I grabbed the pen. I wrote in a 40% tip. "What are you doing?" he hissed. "Apologizing," I said, "for the awkwardness." He looked furious, not because we spent money, but because I'd refused to play the role of the shrill, insecure shrew he needed me to be to validate his narrative. 2 days later, the phone wars began. I was sitting on the couch reading when Justin marched in. "Let me see your phone," he demanded. "Excuse me?" "If you have nothing to hide, it shouldn't be a problem," he said. "Couples should have open access." I laughed. "Justin, you put a 6-digit passcode on your phone last week and started taking it into the bathroom with you every time you pee, but you want to see mine? That's different. I'm protecting my business privacy. You're just secretive." It was so absurd, I almost threw the phone at him. "Here." I unlocked it and handed it over. "Knock yourself out." He grabbed it greedily. He sat down and started scrolling. He went through my texts, my emails, my photos. He spent 20 minutes looking for... What? A lover? A secret bank account? All he found were texts to Cassie about Mom's birthday, emails about zoning laws, and pictures of my cat. I watched his face. As the minutes ticked by and he found nothing incriminating, he actually looked disappointed. He deflated. He wanted to find something. He wanted a reason to say, "Aha, you are the villain." He handed it back, sullen. "Clean," he muttered. "Of course it's clean," I said, "because I'm your wife, not your enemy." "We'll see," he said ominously. "Now, I need to check your location history." "No," I said. I took the phone back. "You had your look. We're done." "See?" He pointed a finger at me. "Defensive. Damien said you'd get defensive if you were hiding something." "Damien says a lot of things for a guy who lives in a studio apartment above a bowling alley," I snapped. He stormed out. I knew then that logic didn't matter. The game was rigged. If I showed him the phone, I was submissive. If I refused, I was guilty. There was no winning. The next evening, I came home early. Justin was at the gym, or training, as he now called it. His gym bag was sitting on the kitchen counter, unzipped. I was looking for a spare car key. I moved a sweaty towel and saw a black moleskin notebook. It wasn't his work planner. It looked personal. Curiosity killed the cat, but suspicion woke the wife. I opened it. The first page was titled, "The Relationship Audit." My blood ran cold. It was a list, a checklist. Test 1, public jealousy, waitress, barista. Status, failed. She didn't care. Test 2, phone access. Status, inconclusive. Clean but suspicious. Test 3, financial dependency. Ask her to quit job, pending. Test 4, the threat, divorce papers. I stared at the words. The threat. It was all planned. It was a game. A sick, twisted game orchestrated by Damien and executed by my husband. I fumbled for my phone to take a picture. I needed proof. I needed to show Cassie. Just as I unlocked my camera, the front door beeped. I froze. Justin walked in. He saw me. He saw the notebook in my hand. "What are you doing?" he barked. "What is this, Justin?" I held up the book. The threat. "You're planning to threaten divorce as a tactic?" His eyes went wide. Panic. Then instant rage. He lunged across the kitchen island. "That's private." He snatched the notebook out of my hand before I could snap the photo. "It's a manipulation manual," I shouted. "You're auditing me like a tax return?" "It's my journal," he yelled. He ripped the pages out, the ones with the list, and crumbled them into a ball. He shoved them into his pocket. "You're invading my privacy. This proves everything Damien said. You don't respect my boundaries." "You just looked through my phone yesterday. That's different." He grabbed the rest of the notebook and marched to the sink. He turned on the disposal and shoved the remaining pages down. Then he turned on the faucet. "Justin!" "It's gone," he said, breathing hard. "You're crazy. You're imagining things. There was no list. I just read it." "You saw what you wanted to see," he said, his voice dropping to a creepy, gaslighting calm. "You're hysterical. This is why we have problems." I stood there shaking. I had seen it. I knew it was real. But now the proof was pulp in the plumbing. It was just my word against his gaslighting. I felt like the ground was dissolving under my feet. After the notebook incident, the tests got weirder. Since he'd destroyed the audit, he seemed to be improvising. Or maybe Damien was giving him new prompts daily. Saturday morning, we were drinking coffee. "Would you still love me if I lost my job and we had to live in a van?" Justin asked suddenly. "Are we talking a Sprinter van or a creepy van down by the river?" I asked, trying to deflect with humor. "I'm serious, Elena. Would you stay?" "Yes, Justin. I married you. For better or worse. What if I gained 200 pounds? I'd be concerned for your health, but yes. What if I decided to become a tree?" I put my mug down. "A tree? Yeah. Like if I spiritually transformed into an oak. Would you water me? Would you stay by my trunk?" I looked at him. He was dead serious. "Justin," I said slowly, "if you turned into a tree, I would assume you were having a psychotic break or I was hallucinating. I'm not going to pledge romantic fidelity to foliage." "See?" He slammed his hand on the table. "Conditions. Your love is conditional. You're not ride or die." "I'm not ride or die for a ficus," I snapped. "This is insane. Who is asking these questions? Is Damien asking if his girlfriends would date him if he was shrubbery?" "Damien says true love transcends physical form," Justin muttered. "Damien is single," I reminded him. Again. It was exhausting. Every conversation was a trapdoor. I was walking on eggshells, waiting to fall through. The night before the divorce papers appeared, the mood in the apartment shifted. It wasn't angry anymore. It was electric. Justin was giddy. He was pacing around the living room, texting furiously. He had a glass of whiskey in his hand, the good stuff he usually saved for special occasions. "You're in a good mood," I noted, watching him from the kitchen. "I am," he said. He looked at me with this weird expression, almost pitying. I feel like I'm finally taking control of my destiny. That's good?" "Big changes are coming, Elena," he said, swirling his glass. "Massive changes. You know, sometimes you have to burn the field to grow the crop." "Okay, Farmer Justin," I said, rolling my eyes. "What does that mean?" "It means that tomorrow we're going to find out what this marriage is really made of." He raised his glass in a toast to himself. "To clarity," he said. "To clarity," I echoed, taking a sip of water. I didn't know then that he was toasting to the end of our marriage. I didn't know that he had the manila envelope sitting in his briefcase in the hallway, ready to be deployed like a nuclear warhead. He thought he was the hero of the movie, about to embark on the climax where the heroine realizes his worth and falls at his feet. He had no idea he was the villain in a tragedy of his own making. I went to bed early that night. He stayed up, whispering on the phone to Damien. I caught snippets. Yeah, tomorrow dinner. The Italian place? No, home is better, more intimate. She'll have nowhere to run. She's going to freak out. I know. Trust the process. Trust the process. The famous last words of fools everywhere. The next morning, the adrenaline crash hit me like a physical flu, but I didn't have time to be sick. I had to be strategic. Cassie had recommended a lawyer named Mercy Vance, no relation, and her name was the only gentle thing about her. Her office was on the 40th floor, all chrome, glass, and views of the city that cost more than my car. Mercy was 60, wore a suit that looked like it was tailored by lasers, and didn't smile when I walked in. "Sit," she said, gesturing to a leather chair. "Cassie says your husband tried to play a game of chicken with the family court system." "That's one way to put it," I said, pulling the photo of the signed papers from my bag. I had snapped a picture before I left the house. He handed me these. I signed them. Now he says he didn't mean it. Mercy put on her reading glasses. She studied the photo for a long time. Then a sound escaped her throat that was halfway between a laugh and a bark. He used a standard dissolution petition, she said, tapping the photo. And he filed it pro se, or did he have counsel? He said he had a lawyer, but the paperwork looks internet generated, I admitted. It is, Mercy said. It's a template, but it's a legal document. He signed it. You signed it. Intent matters, Elena, but execution matters more. He initiated a legal process. You completed it. She took off her glasses and looked at me. Her eyes were like flint. Here is what is going to happen. He expects you to treat this like a marital spat. We are going to treat it like a business transaction. He pulled the pin on the grenade, thinking it was a toy. We are going to let it explode. I don't want to destroy him, I said, surprising myself. I just want out. The quickest way out, Mercy said, opening a file on her laptop, is to take him at his word. He said the marriage is over. We agree. We file for an expedited hearing. If he contests his own filing, he looks like a lunatic in front of a judge. If he doesn't, you're free in 90 days. She typed something rapidly. I'm sending a letter of representation today. All communication goes through me. Block his number. If he shows up at your work, call the police. If he sends flowers, donate them. You are now a fortress. I felt a shiver go down my spine. Okay. He wanted an alpha? Mercy smirked, hitting enter with a decisive click. He just hired one, but it's not him. The silence was the hardest part. Not for me, for him. For the first 24 hours after I left, Justin went dark. He was probably waiting for me to come crawling back, sobbing, begging for forgiveness for whatever sin he'd invented that week. When that didn't happen, the love bombing began. It started with flowers. Massive funeral home-sized arrangements of lilies arrived at Cassie's apartment. I hadn't even told him I was there. He just guessed. The card read, "To new beginnings. I forgive you." He forgives me? I stared at the card, feeling my blood pressure spike. Throw them out, Cassie said, walking past with a laundry basket. They smell like desperation. Then came the texts. I had blocked him, but he started using burner apps. Unknown number. Elle, please, this is crazy. Come home. Unknown number. I made your favorite pasta. It's getting cold. Unknown number. You're overreacting. Damien says this is a classic avoidance strategy. Then the tone shifted. Unknown number. You're abandoning your family. You're heartless. Unknown number. I'm going to sell your jewelry. Unknown number. I love you. Please. I'm scared. It was emotional whiplash. 1 minute, he was the angry patriarch, the next, a frightened child. I sat on Cassie's balcony drinking tea, watching the city below. I realized I wasn't missing him. I was missing the version of him that existed before the brain rot set in. But that man was dead. The guy sending these texts, he was a stranger. Then, the physical stalking started. I saw his car, a gray sedan, parked across the street from Cassie's building 3 nights in a row. He wasn't doing anything, just sitting there, watching. It's creepy, Cassie said, peering through the blinds. Do we call the cops? Not yet, I said. Mercy sent the letter today. Let's see how he reacts to real consequences. I watched him down there, a silhouette in the driver's seat, lit by the glow of his phone. He was probably texting Damien, asking for the next play in the playbook, but Damien's playbook didn't have a chapter for wife actually leaves. On Friday, my phone buzzed. I expected another burner text from Justin. It was Caleb, the quiet guy from the barbecue, the one who looked at his shoes while Damien preached. Caleb, Elena, can we meet? I have things you need to see. Please. It's about the bet. The bet. Those 2 words made my stomach drop. I agreed to meet him at a dive bar on the edge of town, somewhere Justin would never go because the beer list wasn't curated. Caleb looked awful. He hadn't shaved in days, and he was shredding a paper coaster into confetti. When I sat down, he pushed a folder across the sticky table. I shouldn't have waited this long, Caleb said, his voice shaky. I'm a coward. I didn't want Damien to turn on me. What is this, Caleb? Damien runs he calls it a fantasy league for our marriages, Caleb whispered, looking around like he expected Damien to jump out of the jukebox. He bets on us, on how long it takes to break our wives. I felt bile rise in my throat. Break? To make you submit, to make you stop having opinions, to make you obedient. Caleb unlocked his phone. I took screenshots before I left the group chat. I couldn't watch it anymore. Not after you signed the papers. Damien laughed. Elena. He laughed and said he won $50 because you actually did it. Show me, I said. He handed me the phone. I scrolled. It was worse than I imagined. It was a digital autopsy of my marriage. The group chat was called the Council of Kings. Damien, 3 months ago. Justin, she didn't cook dinner? Freeze her out. No affection for 48 hours. Make her starve for attention. Justin, she asked what's wrong. I feel bad. Damien, don't be a pussy. Weakness is why she walks all over you. Hold the frame. I scrolled down. Damien, 1 month ago. Time for the jealousy protocol. Flirt with the waitress. If she doesn't react, she doesn't value you. Make a scene. Justin, she tipped 40%. She embarrassed me. Damien, good. Use that anger. Channel it. Now demand the phone check. And then the day of the papers. Damien, this is the nuclear option, boys, the divorce bluff. Hand her the papers. If she cries, you own her. If she begs, you've won. She'll never question you again. Justin, what if she signs them? Damien, LMAO, she won't. Women operate on emotion, not logic. She'll crumble. Trust me. Justin, 2 hours later. She signed them. She left. What do I do? Damien, she's bluffing. Call it. Don't chase. She'll be back by morning. I stared at the screen. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from a cold, white-hot rage. He bet $50, I whispered. He blew up our life for $50 and a thumbs-up emoji. Damien he's unhappy, Caleb said quietly. He destroys everything he touches, and he needs us to be destroyed too, so he doesn't feel alone. Can I keep these? I asked, looking up. I emailed them to you, Caleb said. Use them. Bury him. Thank you, Caleb. Don't thank me, he said, standing up. I watched it happen. I'm just as guilty. I left the bar feeling heavy but armed. I had the truth. The next morning I went to my office to clear my head. It was Saturday, so the building was empty. I parked in the underground garage. When I got out of my car, I heard footsteps echoing on the concrete. Fast, aggressive. Elena! It was Justin. He emerged from behind a pillar. He looked like hell. His shirt was wrinkled, his eyes were red-rimmed, and he hadn't shaved. How did you know I was here? I asked, backing up against my car door. I have your location sharing, he said, waving his phone. You never turned it off. I'm turning it off now, I said, reaching for my purse. He closed the distance between us. He tried to grab my hands. Elena, stop. Please, you have to listen. This has gone too far. The lawyer letter? Really? You're suing me? I'm divorcing you, Justin. There's a difference. But it was a joke, he screamed. His voice cracked, echoing off the concrete walls. It was a strategy. I didn't mean it. I love you. Doesn't that matter? No, I said. Love isn't a strategy. Love isn't a betting pool in a group chat called Council of Kings. He froze. His face went pale. How do you know about that? Caleb, I said. He showed me everything. The waitress test, the freeze-out, the $50 bet on whether I'd break. Caleb is a traitor, Justin spat, his face twisting into something ugly. He's weak. He doesn't understand. He understands that you don't treat your wife like a lab rat, I shouted back. My voice was louder than his now. You let a divorced, bitter misogynist direct our marriage like a reality TV show. You didn't divorce me, Justin. You divorced your own reality. I can fix it. He tried to step closer, reaching for me again. I'll delete the chat. I'll block Damien. Just come home. I saw the notebook, Justin, I said, dropping the final bomb. The one you shredded. Relationship audit. You failed the audit, not me. You failed the moment you decided I was an opponent instead of a partner. I unlocked my car door. We're done. Mercy will be in touch about the restraining order if you follow me again. Elena, he wailed as I got in. He slapped the window as I reversed. Elena, please! I drove away, leaving him standing in the exhaust fumes, a man who had won his stupid game and lost his only prize. 2 days later, Mercy dropped the hammer. She sent a formal cease and desist to Justin, and she CC'd Damien, since Justin had been dumb enough to list Damien as a character reference on the original template paperwork. I sat in her office as she read it out loud. Mr. Vance is hereby ordered to cease all contact with Ms. Vance outside of legal counsel. This includes electronic communication, third-party messages, and physical surveillance. Furthermore, be advised that we are in possession of digital correspondence. Exhibit A, Council of Kings logs, detailing a conspiracy to inflict emotional distress. If this behavior continues, we will not hesitate to file for an order of protection and pursue civil damages for harassment. Conspiracy? I asked. Is that real? In civil court? Mercy smiled, a shark-like grin. It's leverage. He's terrified of looking bad. This threatens to expose his alpha club as a bunch of sad, plotting boys. He'll stop. And he did. The text stopped instantly. The car disappeared from Cassie's street. The flowers stopped coming. It turns out, for all their talk about holding frame and ignoring rules, these guys were terrified of a 60-year-old woman with a Juris Doctorate and a notary stamp. But Damien couldn't help himself. He was an addict, and attention was his drug. A week later, Caleb sent me a link. Don't look if you don't want to rage, he warned. I clicked it. It was a Facebook post from Damien. It's sad to see good men destroyed by modern hypergamy. My boy Justin tried to lead his household, tried to set boundaries, and his wife abandoned him the second he showed a backbone. This is why marriage is a scam, fellas. They want the wedding, not the leadership. Stay toxic, kings. MG Tau Alpha Punter Divorce. He didn't name me, but everyone in our circle knew who Justin was. I felt a flash of anger, but then I looked at the comments. Comment 1, Rachel, my coworker. Didn't you bet $50 that she would cry? Sounds like you lost the bet in the plot, dude. Comment 2, Mason, the mutual friend. Damien, stop. I saw the screenshots. You coached him to destroy his marriage. You're not a leader. You're a wrecking ball. Comment 3, Random internet stranger. Wait, he handed her divorce papers as a prank, and she signed them? That's not hypergamy, bro. That's play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Legend. Then, someone, I suspect Caleb using a burner account, posted the screenshot of the divorce bluff text exchange right in the comments. The internet did the rest. The post went viral in our local community. People were roasting Damien alive. They were calling him out for his 2 failed marriages, his insecurity, his manipulation. Imagine being 40 and needing a group chat to tell you how to talk to your wife. This isn't alpha behavior, it's toddler behavior. Team Elena. Sign the papers, Queen. Damien deleted the post 3 hours later, but the screenshots lived on. He had tried to shame me, and instead, he had exposed himself as a fraud. The final hearing was anticlimactic. That's the thing about legal endings. They aren't like movies. There's no swelling music, just a humming air conditioner and the smell of floor wax. I wore a blue dress. I felt calm. Justin arrived with a lawyer who looked like he'd been hired that morning. Justin was wearing his wedding suit, the dark navy one I'd helped him pick out. It hung on him loosely now. He'd lost weight. He looked gray. We didn't speak. We sat at separate tables. The judge, a bored-looking man named Judge Henderson, flipped through the file. "You both agree to this dissolution?" he asked. Yes, Your Honor, Mercy said. Yes, Justin's lawyer said. Justin looked at me. He mouthed one word, please. I looked at him. I didn't feel anger anymore. I didn't feel hate. I just felt nothing. He was a stranger, a man who had chosen a podcast over a partnership. I looked at the judge and nodded. So ordered, the judge said, stamping the paper. Thump. It was over. 7 years. Gone in 10 minutes. We walked out into the hallway. Elena, Justin said. He stopped me near the elevators. I really messed up. Yes, I said. You did. I fired Damien, he said like he expected a gold star. I blocked him. I'm going to therapy. That's good, Justin. I hope it helps you for your next relationship. His face crumpled. There's no chance? Ever? You tested me to see if I'd break, I said softly. I didn't break. I just left. Goodbye, Justin. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in. He didn't follow. The doors closed on his face, sealing him in the past. 2 months later, I was at the supermarket debating between kale and spinach, a debate I always lose to spinach, when I heard my name. Elena? It was Mason. The friend who had thrown the barbecue, the one who had reintroduced Justin to Damien. He looked sheepish. He was holding a basket of diapers. Hey, Mason, I said. I wanted to say sorry, he said, shifting his weight. I had no idea Damien was that deep in his head. I thought it was just guys talking shit. I didn't know he was running a cult. It's not your fault, Mason. Justin made his own choices. I saw Justin last week, Mason said. He's not good. He's living in a studio apartment. He talks about you constantly. He says he was brainwashed. He wasn't brainwashed, I said, picking up the spinach. He was insecure. Damien just gave him a vocabulary for it. Yeah, Mason sighed. Well, for what it's worth, you look happy. I am, I said, and I realized it was true. I really am. My new apartment is small. It doesn't have exposed brick or a view of the skyline. It overlooks a park where dogs chase frisbees. It's quiet. I was unpacking the last box, my books, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from a number I didn't recognize, but I knew who it was. I know I'm not supposed to contact you. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I was an idiot. I lost the best thing that ever happened to me because I was afraid of losing control. I hope you're happy. I stared at the screen. 3 months ago, this text would have made me cry. 2 months ago, it would have made me angry. Now? I thought about typing a response. I forgive you. Or, good luck. But then I remembered the list. The relationship audit, the tests, the waitress, the game. He didn't deserve a response. My silence was the only answer he needed. It was the only alpha move that actually mattered. I deleted the thread. I blocked the number. I put my phone down and walked into the kitchen. Cassie and Rachel were coming over in 10 minutes. I had wine to breathe and cheese to plate. I opened the window. The breeze smelled like rain and wet earth. It smelled like the day we met at the festival, before everything got complicated. But this time, I wasn't huddled under a tarp waiting for the storm to pass. I was standing in the sun. Alexa, I said to the empty, peaceful room, play some jazz. And for the first time in a year, I didn't have to worry if the volume was too loud, or if the music wasn't masculine enough, or if I was being tested. I was just free. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.